Welcome back to this special Inside Iraq from Amman, Jordan. We are discussing whether national reconciliation is a possibility or whether Iraq is teetering on the brink of total collapse. Today, security is paramount in Iraq, but without jobs and services, national reconciliation will remain a distant dream.
The security situation in Iraq is improving. There's no question in our mind. However, the internally displaced people are increasing, and this increase was due to lack of services and employment, not ethnic violence or a decrease in security.
Welcome back. Let me go straight immediately to Baghdad. Haider al-Abadi, the gentleman in charge of reconstruction of Iraq, Inspector General Stephen Bowen, says corruption in Iraq is the second insurgency. Billions of dollars have been siphoned by militias and by ministers and by high officials. Explain to our viewers worldwide, how can national reconciliation be achieved without a single minister going behind bars?
Well, no, there were some ministers behind bars, but some of them has escaped, unfortunately. I've read the report of the Inspector General. A lot of the corruption were within the American administration in Iraq, and that is very unfortunate. The millions or billions of US dollars which were disappeared were American money, and the Iraqi government was not responsible for this money, but the US administration in Iraq.
So you are saying
and
the Americans stole the Iraqi monies and they just absconded with it, and Iraqi politicians and Iraqi parties are not party to it? Is that what you are saying?
I'm not saying that. The Inspector General, US Inspector General job was to look into American money which was spent by American administration in Iraq. And that report was speaking about that. So I think the report didn't really reflect the reality. That part of the report was talking about American money spent by American people, American administration in Iraq. I'm not saying there is no corruption in Iraq. There are corruptions, and we are fighting the corruption. But unfortunately, the existence of the Americans in Iraq has instigated more corruption and has caused more corruption. We cannot see or trace the effect of billions of US dollars which were spent in Iraq by the American officials and American administration. We don't know what happened to it. So the Inspector General, US Inspector General is right to say that there was a lot of corruption there.
With all due respect, Haider, what the Congress report and what they were talking about, actually they were talking about ministers, Iraqi ministers and Iraqi government corruption. They weren't just talking about the American administration. We agree there was some money and they admitted it. But there's still now every day there's $12 million disappearing from Iraqi money and nobody knows where it's going. Do you, as a consultant to the Prime Minister, do you know how much money there is, how much money is going away, how much money is going to supply the militias, to supply the other mini armies? Do you have an idea? I mean, can you tell us as Iraqis that this is what we have, this is the numbers we have?
Let him answer. Go ahead, Haider.
Well, I think, look, Iraq is very transparent at the moment. Every day, the Iraqi Central Bank and Iraqi Ministry of Oil give a declaration to Parliament about how much oil was exported, how much money was paid into Iraqi accounts. This is now transparent in Iraq, and this is being followed. I hope there is no penny, no single Iraqi dinar is spent on the militia unlawfully. We have to follow that up. Today we had a very lengthy meeting with our financial observation authority in Iraq, and they showed us the extent of their operation and how much money they have followed, and there is a follow-up operation in Iraq and process about
Dr.
the
Saleh,
money.
Dr. Saleh, let me just ask this. If Haider al-Abadi says Iraqi is above board, the government is in control of every single penny, I would like you to explain to me the leader of the anti-corruption committee who is seeking political asylum in Iraq, Hamza Radi, says Iraq is riddled with corruption. Explain who's telling the truth.
Well, Iraq is being classified now as number 2 in the world in the corruption.
Number 3, actually, just above Myanmar and Somalia.
So number 3 or number 4. So the corruption is so high, so big. So who is in charge of this corruption? If everything is transparent, as my colleague Haider is saying, where did this money go? And where are the projects that used in Iraq so that we can see that this money are going to some projects in Iraq. We cannot see paved road now. We cannot see any water project now. We cannot see the electricity now. So where did all this money go?
You ask the question, the numbers, they normally have the answers. Numbers in Iraq are a true indicator of success or failure, except in this case, the numbers are disheartening.
The number of refugees has always been a very sensitive matter for both the Iraqi government and the Bush administration. And that's because it's one of the very few tangible measures of success or failure. Now, the Iraqi Red Crescent says that in 2007, the number of internally displaced has increased fourfold, from 500,000 at the beginning of the year to more than 2.3 million. It's a figure the Iraqi government contests, pointing to the fact that more than 46,000 people have returned home in October alone, and that's because of the recent security gains, it says. But are these people returning home because they're really confident they can get a better life? Or are they forced back because of new visa regulations, lack of work or money, or simply because life as a refugee can sometimes be so difficult, they want their dignity back?
Huda Abdul Hamid. Dr. Hassan, there is a culprit at the heart of all that we talked about, and that is the sectarian quota, what we call in Iraq, or what you in Iraqis call al-muhasasa al-ta'ifiyya, simply because each group comes in with a special seal, with a special siege that nobody can penetrate.
Right, and that's what I mean by reconciliation, what we're talking about. We don't want to simplify the things, and we think that only corruptions maybe comes in second. The more important thing, the most important thing is to look to the main thing. The main problem is the sectarian things, is the quota system, is the constitution, all these things that probably hinder any efforts to have a reconciliation.
Let me stop you right here. What you have just said,
yes,
that's this entire political process from the beginning, from 2003 until now, it has to be torn apart and rebuilt again. Is that what you just said?
Definitely, because this is for the
not.
4.5 years, and we have seen the destruction of Iraq day after day, asking if you are really sincere and if you want to take the responsibility to leave the country, then you have really to start
well,
from
let's
the
see
beginning.
if there is a partner in this. Haider al-Abadi, you and the governments, whether it's al-Maliki, whether Abdul Aziz al-Hakim, whether the two Kurdish leaders, are you willing to destroy what has been built and rebuild it again on different bases?
Well, no. I mean, nobody's prepared to go to square one and take the Iraqi people through all the sufferings they have been through over the last 4 years. I think there is a problem. There is a problem of the sectarian quota, which we have to overcome. We have to build a political system which is inclusive without having to go through sectarian quota, which is a very wrong principle. There is now a political talk about moving away from sectarian quota into a political system which is inclusive. And that is what we are trying to do very hard. Now, the elections have brought a parliament and a government which represent the composition of the Iraqi people. And everybody now is inclusive. We have to use this to build a reconciliation among the people rather than to build a sectarian quota which may divide people.
Haider al-Abadi, thank you very much. We'll take a short break now. We'll continue our discussion afterwards. Please stay with us.